So we're outside. We're just gonna go through a couple of the things that we did to the outside of the bus to, I don't know, just get it ready so that we could hit the road. In Wisconsin, we had a couple things that we had to do. This is the same in a few states, at least most states, I think. We had to have all the yellow painted. We had to have the stop arm removed, and then we also had to have the upper flashing lights removed, and those holes had to be covered. So once you do that, then they approve you or like certify you that you are no longer a school bus, and then we have to send that in with our other information to get it titled as a motorhome.
These requirements are very state specific, so if you have the option to pick a state that has more lenient laws, then go that route for sure. With
the electrical panel, we pretty much just pulled out wires. We didn't really add anything into it. We did actually break one of the solenoids, one of the connections to the solenoids. And what we found is that because we'd removed so much stuff that we were actually able to route the wires that were being used on that one solenoid through a different place. So it ended up working out for us in the long run. We're good. We don't have to like do a whole lot in there.
It was a kind of intricate process to figure out which wires we needed. So all the wires on the inside were bundled together. We unwrapped all of that and took out each wire that we didn't need to clean it up.
Right, that took time, and it was good though. I think it was essential, like get rid of all of that unnecessary wire in the bus and just clean it up and make sure you know what's what, so that if you do have a problem later down the road, you're not like going through things and trying to figure out, you know, why does this break, like which wire is it, all of that. So we probably took out, like I said, maybe half of the wires, maybe more, maybe 60% of the wires that were in there that were unnecessary, that were essential for the bus as it was, but because we took out lights and because we took out the stop arm and all of that stuff, the emergency exit sounds and all of those alarms, that just wasn't a problem for us. Right. So that was all the wiring. We also built the roof rack. We designed the roof rack, and then Natasha's dad, Dana, did all the welding for it. So that was a big process. First couple of weeks was that.
So one of the choices we had to make is how far from the roof, like the peak of the roof, would the rack be. Ours is 5 inches. I wish I would have done maybe just another inch or two so I can get underneath to paint and fix any rust spots. It's really tough for us to fit under there right now. Another thing that we might add in the future is a wind break in the front up here, because the wind goes underneath the rack and the panels shake. That's not good for the panels. If they do get damaged, we were told that we'll be able to visibly see if they're damaged from the top of the panel, but it's very possible that that could happen from the wind.
We decided that we wanted to be able to tilt the panels up, and the only way that we were going to be able to do that is if we push them to one side and then put them on kind of a hinge mechanism. So we have a catwalk on this side where we can walk along each of the panels and we can actually like unscrew them. We haven't done it yet. We don't have the tilting mechanism finished. But once we do, we'll be able to walk along and we'll be able to unscrew them and tilt them up so that we can optimize the angle of the panels and get the most possible sun, depending on what time of year it is. So if it's winter, we need a little bit steeper angle. If it's summer, we probably don't need much angle, depending on, again, the time of year and the location, like where we're cutting it.
The solar mount is essentially a piece of slotted angle steel attached to the panel, and then another attached to the bus, the roof rack, and there's just a bolt as a hinge. I don't think I'd recommend for people to copy our strategy. It wasn't flexible enough when we were putting it together to be an easy process at all. It was really tough. Do some exploration, like prototype or something, figure it out. I think it'll work for us, but it was really hard to implement. 2/3 of the bus are panels, and then we have a third in the back for stargazing, which I did when we were in Quartzsite, and the stars were beautiful. Stargazing, we watched a parade up there in New Orleans. Just anything we want to do kind of privately. It also feels safe if we wanted to sleep up there. We're away from any critters that could get us on the ground.
It's like our default hangout spot, you know, if we're traveling somewhere and we just pause and we want to see the town a little bit different. So
I just want to mention like the paint, and we took the windows and stuff out. So as far as painting this beast, chose an airless sprayer, so we didn't need an air compressor, and we didn't have to thin it or anything. Prep, I'm gonna warn everybody, prep takes so long, 3 times as long as it takes to spray it. But we removed all the windows as a part of the prep because there was water leaking down into the walls, which will cause rust. Taking them out wasn't too big of a process. We did some scraping, we cleaned them up. I'd recommend if you take them out, polish them up. There's no reason not to. We just use steel wool, and I think they're called SOS cleaning pads. They have like a little bit of soap on it to lube it up a little bit, and they're really shiny now. So that took off like the corrosion and stuff. Yeah, and then we did some taping. We sanded everything that was rusty down to shiny metal and primed it. So what you see here is just a primer. We use a Rust-Oleum oil-based product, which is better for outdoor application. And I think we're actually going to change our route on the top coat. So we were going to use a Rust-Oleum enamel, which is what we used on our roof rack, and it takes a week to cure. It takes days to dry, and I'm afraid that it's going to get dust and just get damaged. So we're going to look at a 3-part primer and a water-based top coat option later. On the roof we used an elastomeric. It's like an RV coating to keep out some of that heat. It seals it too, so if we had any leaks it kind of patches it up.
Still have a bucket with us. It's like a 5-gallon bucket of it. The problem with it is it's really thin, and you have to put on like 50 coats for it to be like...
I thought it would be thick and rubbery, but it's thin. We did like 7 coats.
It's working okay. We have a lot of footprints because we did more work on the roof after we'd put it on, so we have to go back and like touch it up and just kind of make it look nice.
Yeah. So the underbody storage boxes. Took me a couple weeks to design these things because I didn't have a lot of knowledge. I was initially going to use slotted angle steel as a frame and then bolt in somehow or rivet in walls to the boxes, but it turns out I had a cousin who works at a manufacturing place, which I probably shouldn't mention, but what he did is he got a large piece of sheet metal and was able to bend it in several locations, so we have a solid sheet for the underbody box and then some end caps that are welded in. He also had a frame, a thick 2-inch angle steel frame welded onto it as well, so it's really strong. We had quite a bit of trouble trying to determine what the doors would be, so what you're seeing now is kind of a temporary solution to get us on the road quickly. We used plywood with some MDF decorative trim, which I would not recommend or use again because it expands when it absorbs water. And we just used a deadbolt lock that we got keyed all the same from a locksmith, a local one in Winona. You push the door in and then you twist the deadbolt and it holds it pretty securely. I put a weather strip all the way along the edges to keep the water out. And it's been pretty good so far. We can't really say for sure because we have some gaps along the back that we haven't sealed on the inside that let water in, and then some little holes where bolts go that we haven't filled. But for the most part it's been awesome. It's a critical piece in our design, these underbody boxes. It holds all of our plumbing on this side of the bus. Our gray water tank is probably, I think it's like 96 inches long or something. The sink drain, the washer dryer drain, the bathtub drain, shower, and then another sink drain for the bathroom all go down in there into that one tank. And then we're also planning to put in an outdoor shower down there as well that you can just open up and pull out, so we don't have to store some of that water for the shower. And then on the other side we have electrical storage underneath there, so keeping that watertight is really critical. We just plan to put plastic bins in there for anything we store just in case there is a leak. It's all insulated and each bin has a heating mat in there to keep it warm from freezing, and it's not going to keep it like really warm, just a little bit above freezing.
Yep, especially for the water. We figured, you know, if it's cold for an extended period of time, we just turn that on and that should keep that water from freezing up, and we can still have gray water in there and it won't be a problem.
The thermostats are inside, and then each thermostat has a sensor, so we know what the temp is. And it's not, I don't think it's a traditional application of the Thermosoft mats that we used, so we'll have to see if they actually survive. You're not supposed to put a permanently installed fixture over top because it can overheat. So we'll see if they...
I'm not worried about them overheating because the only time that we're actually going to run them is if it gets below freezing for an extended period of time. So I don't think it'll ever overheat in that instance. The other part of the storage boxes, so her cousin actually fabricated them, and then we took the bus to him, and we were able to go in a shop in at the beginning of the year and install them. So we cut out a little piece of the skirt and then installed them. That process was really smooth. It was probably the smoothest thing that we did on the bus, just as far as like any major project goes. That installation was like 8 hours and just easy the entire time, and everything just went according to plan. It was great. And the end result is the boxes are absolutely amazing. So he did a really great job with fabrication and made it easy for us to install them. So that was awesome.
Yeah, Nick cut out a little piece here for the skirt out of, so we removed that panel on the inside that the seats connect to, which we now realize is a structural piece and you should not take out. I'm just warning everybody of that. We took that out, so we reused some of the metal for this little decorative piece here that kind of helps it all flow together. It is also holding the box in place a little bit, and if you haven't tried riveting, you have to, because it's really awesome. It's really fun.
So we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and our handle is Uproot and Roam.
We probably should say thank you to all the people that helped us, because this was not us, just us. Like, this was a huge project. Our parents were like the biggest help for us. They did money, they did food, they did time on the bus, they did, you know, all the different things to support us to get us to be here, as well as a lot of our friends and family just loaning tools or time or like effort. It was amazing, the amount of support that we've gotten on this. This was not an easy project. It's like I say, like, we built a house in a short amount of time, like 6-7 months. Like, we built a house. There's no way that we could have done that without everybody that lent a hand. So that was good. We're thankful.